"Why are you looking at me like that, human?" said the queen. "Because you're the mother of my child," I said ***. The first time I saw Queen Aerith Varelian of the Los Prime, she was standing beneath a dying sun. Not literally dying. Not yet, but the star above the capital had begun its unstable cycle, casting violent auroras across the upper atmosphere. The royal balcony was open to the sky, and the wind moved her silver-black mantle like liquid night. I wasn't meant to be there. Humans didn't belong in royal observatories. We were contractors, engineers, temporary minds hired to fix problems too inelegant for Thalos advanced systems to calculate. My name is Kale Arden, systems architect, specialist in stellar stabilization arrays. Outsider. The queen stood at the edge of the balcony, looking out over a city built from crystalline towers and floating transit bridges. The Los Prime was not beautiful in a soft way. It was precise, sharp, deliberate. Every structure grew from engineered mineral lattice foundations that pulsed faintly with energy. And she stood at the center of it all. "You are staring," she said without turning. Her voice was calm, but it carried weight, like gravity bending space around it. "I apologize, Your Majesty," I answered quickly. I was assessing atmospheric distortion. She turned then. Her eyes were not human. No iris. No sclera. Just shifting constellations of light, as if the galaxy itself had taken residence inside her gaze. "No," she said. "You are not." My throat tightened. I had been staring, but not because of awe. Because I was calculating timelines. And because I had seen the data. The queen was going to die. 3 weeks earlier, I had been summoned to the Stellar Council. The star Helion 9, which the Los Prime orbited, was entering erratic flare cycles. The Illyrians, the queen species, had advanced beyond warp, beyond antimatter, beyond biological limits. But even they could not command a star indefinitely. Their solution was elegant, a planetary shield network powered by a quantum lattice seeded into the planet's mantle. It required a living anchor. The queen was that anchor. Her bloodline had been genetically engineered centuries ago to interface with the planetary core through a bioquantum link called the Crown Veil. Once bound, the monarch became more than sovereign. They became the stabilizer. The cost? Gradual cellular collapse. No one outside the High Council knew, except me, because I had been tasked with optimizing the energy transfer algorithms, and I saw the strain metrics. Her vitals were declining at a rate even Illyrian physiology couldn't reverse. She had perhaps 3 years left, at most. "You continue to stare," she said, stepping closer. I swallowed. "You are integrating with the Crown Veil," I said quietly. Her expression didn't change. "That information is classified." "I know." The wind intensified, scattering silver motes of light around us. "You are bold for a human," she said. "No," I replied, just unwilling to lie. She studied me for a long moment. "Speak your concern." I hesitated. Then I did what humans are infamous for. I told the truth. "If you remain the anchor, you will not survive the next solar peak." The air seemed to freeze. Below us, the city shimmered with artificial daylight. "You assume much," she said softly. "I analyzed your cellular entropy index." Silence. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. A quiet, almost incredulous sound. "You dissect my mortality as if it were a broken engine." "It is," I said. "A system under strain." Her gaze sharpened. "And what would you propose, engineer?" That was the question that had kept me awake for weeks. And the reason I couldn't stop looking at her. I hadn't meant for it to happen the way it did. Humans and Illyrians weren't enemies. But we weren't equals either. The Los had rescued humanity during the Outer Rebellion 50 years ago. In return, we provided technical ingenuity, creativity that their hyperlogical culture sometimes lacked. We were unpredictable. That unpredictability led me to a hypothesis. If the crown veil required a compatible bioquantum signature, then perhaps it didn't require only one. I began running simulations in secret. Hybrid resonance models, shared load distribution, genetic bridging. It was theoretical madness. Until it wasn't. One night, deep in the research spire, the Queen appeared behind me. "You hide data from my council." I nearly jumped out of my skin. You reroute computational cycles through human encryption. I exhaled slowly. Yes. She walked around the console, eyes scanning the holographic lattice projections. "You are attempting to split the anchor." "Yes." Her gaze lifted to mine. "That is impossible." "No," I said. "It's untested." A pause. "Why?" she asked. That was when she asked the question that would define everything. "Why are you looking at me like that, human?" The lab was silent except for the hum of stellar models rotating above us. I could have lied. I could have deflected. Instead, I answered, "Because you're the mother of my child." The words did not echo. They detonated. Her eyes flared with light, constellations igniting within. "You overstep," she said, not angry but stunned. "I know. Alien reproduction is tightly regulated. I know. No human has ever. I know." Her breath slowed. "When?" she asked quietly. 3 months ago," I said. "During the resonance calibration trials." She stiffened. The trials required physical proximity, neural interface contact. The crown veil had briefly synchronized through my own biofield as I adjusted the parameters. It had been a moment, an anomaly spike. We both felt it. We both ignored it. Until I didn't. I ran genomic scans afterward. I continued. There was cross-compatibility. Unprecedented, but stable. She turned away from me. "This is impossible." "It's not." Her shoulders rose and fell once. "If this is deception." "It isn't." Finally, she faced me again. And for the first time, the Queen did not look like a ruler. She looked uncertain. "Show me," she said. I projected the data. Hybrid DNA sequences rotated in the air, human markers interwoven with alien quantum strands. Her hand lifted, hovering inches from the hologram. The light reflected in her eyes. Silence stretched between us. Then she whispered, "This changes everything." The High Council did not take the revelation well. An heir born of human and monarch blood would destabilize centuries of carefully controlled lineage. "You risk contamination of the crown veil," one elder snapped. "You risk evolution," I replied. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Queen Aerith raised her hand. Silence returned instantly. "The child carries dual resonance," she said evenly. "The load of the veil could be shared." "And if it fails?" another demanded. "Then I die," she said. The bluntness stunned even them. A counselor turned to me. "You manipulated our sovereign." I offered a solution. "You offered rebellion." The Queen's gaze hardened. He offered hope. The word hung in the air like forbidden energy. Hope. For a species that had engineered its own destiny for millennia, hope was almost primitive. After hours of debate, the council withdrew to deliberate. Only the Queen and I remained. "You gamble much," she said softly. "So do you." Her eyes searched mine. "Why?" she asked again. "Why risk everything?" I didn't hesitate. "Because I refuse to watch you burn out for a throne that can evolve." Her lips parted slightly. "You speak to me as if I am not queen." I speak to you as if you're alive. The universe, as usual, did not wait for political resolution. While the council debated lineage, the Dominion of Kairos launched a fleet toward the Los Prime. They had long coveted the Crown Vale's power. If the Queen was weakened, they would strike. Emergency sirens echoed through the capital. The Queen stood in full ceremonial armor, energy filaments tracing her form. "You will remain in the inner sanctum," she ordered me.
No.
Her eyes flashed. "You are not a soldier. I'm the father of your child." The words steadied both of us. For a fraction of a second, the Queen disappeared, replaced by a woman who understood vulnerability. Then she nodded once. "Stay close." The battle above the atmosphere was catastrophic. Kairos warships deployed gravity disruptors, tearing at the shield network. The Crown Veil flared violently, channeling raw stellar energy through the Queen's body. I watched her vitals spike on my wrist console. "She can't hold it alone," I said. "Then activate your heresy," she replied through gritted teeth. I sprinted toward the central core. The hybrid resonance matrix was incomplete, unapproved, untested. Perfect. I synchronized my neural implant with the Crown Veil. Pain unlike anything I'd ever known tore through me. It felt like standing inside a star. "Link stabilizing," I gasped. On the battlefield above, the shield grid rebalanced. Energy flow redistributed. The Queen's vitals steadied. "You are insane," she whispered in my mind. Probably. The veil flared brighter than ever before. Together, we redirected the excess stellar flux outward, a focused beam that ripped through the Kairos flagship. The enemy fleet scattered. The sky cleared, and the Crown Veil settled into a new equilibrium.
Shared.
When I woke, I was in the Royal Med Bay. The Queen sat beside me. Not armored, not distant. "You survived," she said. Disappointed. A faint smile. "The Council has accepted the hybrid anchor model." That was fast. They witnessed it save their world. She reached for my hand. A simple gesture. Profound. "The child's resonance is already detectable within the veil," she said. I blinked. Already. Illyrian gestation differs from human.
Of course it did.
She studied me carefully. "You changed our future." "No," I said. "We did." Silence, warm and steady. Then she asked again, but this time there was no accusation. "Why do you look at me like that?" Because now I could answer without fear. "Because you're not just my queen," I said softly. "You're the mother of our child, and you deserve a future beyond sacrifice." Her forehead rested briefly against mine, an Illyrian gesture of binding. The Crown Veil pulsed gently around the planet, balanced,
Alive.
Months later, beneath a stabilized sun, the council gathered once more. The Queen stood before them, radiant. "The Crown Veil no longer demands singular sacrifice," she declared. "Our future will not be built on extinction." A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. "And the child?" an elder asked cautiously. She looked at me, then back at them. "The child represents convergence. Human ingenuity. Illyrian evolution. Shared burden. Shared strength." The council bowed. Not to me, not to her, but to possibility. That night, on the same balcony where this began, we stood together. The star Helion, 9 burned steady. No violent flares. No impending collapse. "You were never meant to be here," she said quietly. "Neither were you," I replied. "Not like this." She smiled. "History will remember you as the human who altered the crown. History can do what it wants." "And what do you want?" I looked at her. Truly looked at her. Not as sovereign. Not as symbol. But as partner. As long as you're standing, I said. I'm not looking away. Her hand found mine. The crown veil shimmered across the planet. And for the first time in Aelirian history, the throne did not demand death. It promised legacy. A legacy born not of conquest, not of genetic perfection, but of two species choosing to share the weight of a star. And when she asked me one last time, "Why are you looking at me like that, human?" I smiled. Because the future is already watching us. And somewhere within the luminous network of the crown veil, a new heartbeat answered.